Jenny sat on the edge of her bed, trying to catch her breath. It was 6:30 a.m. and the day already felt like it was slipping through her fingers like sand through a sieve. The kids had bolted out the door for school, leaving behind a battlefield of half-eaten toasts, lost shoes, and last-minute requests that defied the laws of physics. Like, "Mum, where's my PE kit? Mum, I forgot I need a castle made out of cereal boxes by today. Mum, why is the dog eating my homework?" The house was in chaos. The laundry pile had developed a personality of its own, growing larger every time she glanced at it, just like a villain in a horror film. Living as a military wife in Cyprus, she was no stranger to unpredictability. But today felt especially ridiculous. Her husband was away on deployment again, leaving her to single-handedly manage the household, her job, and the insidious pressure to be some kind of Stepford wife meets CEO hybrid. Her marriage was great, minus the absence and the unpredictability of military life. James was high up for a common man, well respected, very down to earth, and her best friend, who she didn't even have time to miss. She excelled dramatically. Women were expected to have it all, but having it all seemed to mean doing it all while smiling through exhaustion. How many other women woke up like this, secretly fantasizing about running away to a remote cabin in the woods where no one could ask for a snack? She had felt this way for years, like she was failing at every aspect of life, never quite fitting in anywhere. Too disorganised to be the perfect mother, too exhausted to be the ideal wife, and too distracted to excel at work. It was as if she was performing a one-woman circus act, spinning plates while walking a tightrope, only to watch them all come crashing down around her. The feeling of never being enough was suffocating. Her body ached, not from any particular strenuous activity, unless existing under the weight of social expectations counted. Perimenopause had arrived, like an uninvited guest, bringing with it mood swings, night sweats, and an ever-present simmering rage. She felt like she was born in the wrong era. But today, she told herself, today would be different. Self-care. She would prioritise herself. Perhaps a yoga session, a face mask, or at the very least, drinking her tea while it was still hot. But the more she thought about it, the angrier she became. Angry at the world, at the impossible standards, at the sheer exhaustion of trying to be everything to everyone. Feminism, she mused. It was beginning to feel like an elaborate government ploy to double tax entire households, double the workforce, and erode family life. Go girl, you can do anything, they said. What they really meant was, you can do everything, by yourself, for free, and don't forget to smile. She'd once believed in it, in the idea of women breaking barriers and redefining success. But lately she wasn't so sure. Lately she felt like feminism had sold her a dream, only to hand her a never-ending to-do list. She was becoming an anti-feminist, against her own will, resentful of the very movement that had supposedly given her choices. But what if all she wanted to do was be a housewife? What if she didn't want the career, the grind, the expectation to be constantly striving? What if she just wanted to exist in peace without feeling like a failure? She longed for a simpler life. She didn't want to shatter the glass ceiling. She wanted to stay inside, maybe bake a nice cake, and not have to answer emails at 11 p.m. But no, there was always some invisible force pushing her forward. Society, finances, the fear of being seen as just a housewife. That phrase alone made her seethe, as if keeping tiny humans alive, maintaining a home, and managing the mental load of an entire family was some kind of leisure pursuit. Her phone buzzed, a work email, at 6:45 a.m. Of course. Jenny let out a slow, deliberate sigh. Maybe today wouldn't be so different after all. Jenny had always found solace in solitude, not the kind that felt lonely or heavy, but the kind that wrapped around her like a favourite blanket, the kind that whispered, "You belong here," rather than, "Why are you alone?" And nowhere did she feel this more than in nature, especially near water. Her only escape? Snorkeling. The quiet, the solitude, it was the closest thing to therapy she had. She packed her gear and headed to Dreamers Bay, a peaceful archaeological site near her home. The underwater remains of an ancient port and warehouse made it the perfect retreat. It wasn't far, so she didn't feel like she was abandoning her responsibilities, just stepping away briefly. By 8 a.m., she was ready to explore, starting with the nearby shipwreck. It was built in 1932 and had run aground in the 70s during a storm. Now it stood partially submerged, a rustic relic of the past. Locals called it the Three Stars Shipwreck, a beloved landmark for divers. Jenny felt a kinship with it, rusty but still standing. As she walked along the beach, she spotted a local diver and waved. Kalimera, she called out. His professional diving gear made her feel like a complete amateur. As she entered the sea, diving below, she felt the water pressing around her, not in a claustrophobic way, but as if it were holding her, supporting her. Shafts of sunlight pierced through the blue-green water, illuminating seaweed that danced like ghostly fingers. The ship loomed ahead, its corroded beams and encrusted metal eerily beautiful. A reminder that time erodes all things, yet leaves them strangely whole in new ways. As she swam deeper, a glint of something unusual caught her eye. Half buried in the slit near the shipwreck was a small trinket box. Carefully, she dislodged it from the seabed, brushing away years of sediment. The box, made of red-orange clay, was still nearly intact. Carvings of spirals and waves decorated its surface. She turned it over in her hands, mesmerised by the artistry. How long had it been here? Oh, it's probably from Dreamer's Bay, but who had last touched it before the sea claimed it? Holding it, she felt connected to a forgotten past, a secret piece of history resting in her palm. She clutched the box tightly, and as she surfaced, the salty air filled her lungs. She had seen the local diver underwater, but at much greater depth. I must invest in some proper gear, she thought. Who knows what treasures are hidden deeper? An hour had passed and her energy was waning. Eventually and reluctantly, she drifted back to shore. The weight of reality settled onto her shoulders again, but lighter now, like a shawl rather than a burden. She stepped onto the sand, water streaming from her skin, and grinned to herself. No matter what the day ahead held, meetings, emails, possibly even human interaction, she had stolen this moment, and that was enough. Jenny took one last look at the sea and whispered, "See you soon." Then, with a final deep breath, she walked away, knowing that as long as she had this, she would always find her way back to herself. But then reality intruded. She grabbed her phone. 13 new work emails, a missed Teams call, WhatsApp messages, texts, a missed call from the school, 2 voicemails, and a barrage of social media notifications. It was as if the universe had spent the last hour conspiring to remind her that peace was just a fleeting illusion. She flopped onto the sand, trinket in one hand and phone in the other, staring at the screen in horror. For God's sake, why do these stupid feminists fall for all that? She muttered. Why did women want to do it all that stupid ambition? She groaned, rolling onto her back. I just wish I can go back in time and stop them. I mean, I don't want us back in corsets or legally classified as furniture, but still, I wish I just could kill them all. Then her phone pinged again. Another email. She grumbled and threw her phone to the side, and next time I'm just going to stay in the water, maybe even evolve into a mermaid. Problem solved. Exhausted and sun-drenched and still fuming, she let her eyes drift shut. Just a moment of rest, she thought. Just a little more time before the world demands things of me again. Then she drifted off, and then came the dreams. At first it was peaceful. Jenny found herself floating through a golden-hued past where women lounged on chaiselongs, sipping wine and laughing. Not a Zoom call in sight. It was bliss. Then the dreams shifted. She saw history rewritten before her eyes. Visions of the most important women in history meeting bizarre and horrific ends. Suffragettes trampled by overly enthusiastic horses, and not the king's one. Marie Curie, instead of discovering radiation, accidentally burned to death by making cookies. And even Oprah wasn't spared, standing on stage about to declare, "You get a car," when a trap door opened beneath her, sending her plummeting into oblivion. Flash after flash, these moments played before her, as if every powerful woman throughout time was just being erased. The world blurred, history unravelling, until she was surrounded by nothing but a sea of men in ill-fitting suits. all debating whether women were really suited for multitasking or if their delicate little brains were simply overwhelmed. She jolted awake with a loud snore. Disorientated, she sat up, wiping her face. A trickle of blood ran from her nose. Great, she muttered, poking at it. I escape reality for an hour, and I still find a way to be punished. Bloody brilliant. She took one last look at the sea and sighed. Maybe I should just stay down there next time. She trudged towards the car park, but her car was gone. Panic surged. Had it been stolen? Had she parked elsewhere? Her mind raced. And it was an unforgiving, blistering walk through the Cypriot wilderness. An hour of brutal sun, jagged terrain, and the ever-present threat of snakes and swarming mosquitoes. The air shimmered with heat, distorting the landscape like a cruel mirage. The wind carried nothing but the dry rasp of distant insects. She checked her bag, and her phone was gone. Frantically, she rummaged for her keys, but no keys. So no keys, no phone, no car. She'd clearly been robbed while she was asleep. And with no other choice, she started walking. The sun pressed down on her. It was relentless. Sweat trickled between her shoulder blades, soaking into her dress. She draped her towel over her head in a feeble attempt to shield herself, but it made little difference. Her throat burned, her skin stung, her legs felt like lead. Mosquitoes swarmed, their tiny little bodies relentless as they buzzed around her face. She tried to breathe through her nose to avoid swallowing them, but the effort left her feeling even dizzier. Her limbs ached with each dragging step, nausea curling in her stomach. Her vision blurred at the edges. She'd never felt so utterly depleted, as if the heat was wringing the life out of her. Halfway there, salvation arrived, a jeep slowing to a crawl beside her. Two British men. Relief flooded her, but only for a second. The driver rolled down the window, his expression a mixture of concern and disbelief. What are you doing, crazy lady? You shouldn't be out here alone. Are you okay? Her voice cracked as she croaked, Please help me. My car's gone. I'm a wife. I live on base. I need to get home ASAP. I have an important work meeting. Tears spilled down her sunburnt cheeks, and the two men exchanged a glance. Get in, we'll take you. Utterly exhausted, she climbed into the jeep. The passenger handed her a bottle of water, and she downed it in one go, murmuring an apology. Then silence, tense silence. She could feel it, the way the driver kept glancing at his friend, the tightness in their shoulders. Something about them was off. Their politeness was stiff, it was forced, and they were very British, too British. Their clipped accents, their carefully measured concern, it felt out of place. It was strange in this setting. They weren't just worried for her, they were weary of her. Why? What did they see that she didn't? She was too drained to even question it. When they reached the base, the men spoke to the guard. We found her alone in the wilderness, one said, his voice carefully neutral. She says she's a military wife and lives here. She also says that she has an important work meeting and needs to get home. Her nose is bleeding and she's very thirsty. She needs medical attention. Jenny, with lips dry and eyes heavy, waved a hand weakly. I just need to get home. I have work. I'll be fine. The guard studied her with a long, assessing look. ID? Husband's details? Come sit inside, he said. Something was off. The air in the guard room was thick with unspoken tension. The guards, too, they were very British, polite, controlled, watching her like a puzzle they couldn't quite solve. Anxiety prickled at the back of her neck. What the hell was going on? Finally, a guard returned. We've confirmed your details. We're not calling the police, but we are taking you to the medical centre just to be sure. The police? She frowned, trying to make sense of it. He must mean an ambulance, right? I'll go, she sighed, too weary to fight. But I just need to get home. Do you have a phone charger? I need to call work. Again, that strange patronising look. Mrs. Baker, the guard said softly, let's focus on getting you checked out first. That is what is important right now. A strange sinking dread settled in her stomach as she climbed into the guard's jeep. Something was definitely not right.